Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Slovenia once again. So this was another beer that was very kindly given to me by Davor, so a huge thank you to him for sending this one over to Scotland. And today we're going to go to Ljubljana once again, and this is another really quite new craft brewery actually, so it should be very interesting to try. So we're going to do my first review today from Pivovarna Tektonik, and this one is their Dizzy IPA Amerikana. So it comes in at 6.1%, and I think at a rating of 82 overall on Rate Beer when I checked it out earlier. And I'm very curious to see if this beer is like the other Slovenian IPAs that I've tried before, in that it might be really juicy. I found that that seems to be a trend when it comes to the IPAs in Slovenia. They've got this really nice kind of juicy fruity character to them. They almost are a bit similar in feel to some of the New Zealand IPAs that I've tried before. So definitely looking forward to this one. Once again, a huge thank you to Davor for sending this over, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. It's always really cool to try really random beers like this one. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Pivovarna Tektonik. The very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Slovenian beers that I've reviewed for you, and that of course is being added to whenever I can. And please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pivovarna Tektonik then. So Pivovarna Tektonik was founded back in 2015 by Marko Jamnik, who was a professional photographer by trade, and his friend Nico. So Marko had been homebrewing for about 30 years, and he also wrote a blog on the Slovenian craft beer scene. For a number of years he spent time in Italy and was learning about the beer scene there, and a number of his blog posts were actually about the Italian craft beer scene as well. But he actually built up most of his own brew kit himself, and he also went for a formal brewing education, I believe at Brewlab, which is somewhere I think in Sunderland or Newcastle in the very northeast of England. But Marco's a big fan of Belgian beers, and because he started as a home brewer, he's experimented with a lot of different styles, and he does plan to just keep the brewery that way. They don't want to become a big brewery. They want to just keep expanding, experimenting with different styles, and just build up gradually and make good beer, and that's what it's all about. I think they want to just remain a fairly local brewery in Slovenia, but we'll see how we get on with this one. As I've seen before, the standard of craft beer in Slovenia is really high, and the thing with Slovenia is that they're a wine country. Mainly they are a wine country. They've got some really interesting hops over there as well, like Celaya and Styrian Wolf. I mean, you've got guys like Pelican, Reservoir Dogs, and all of these other breweries over there, Human Fish as well, that are producing some really good stuff. And there are smaller guys like Maligrad and these guys as well. So it should be a really interesting beer, and I'm sure if it wasn't a good one, Davor wouldn't have sent me it. So really looking forward to this one. But yeah, let's actually get on to the tasting then. That's all you need to know about the brewery. As I mentioned to you, the website and things like that are in the description below, so you can read up a little bit more if on the brewery if you want. And I do recommend that you use Chrome for that, of course, because it has the translate function. So yeah, as you can see, this one's quite nicely presented. I do like the kind of almost painting style of artwork that they have on this one. It's some kind of robot that's got some so it's some kind of hot girl in a dress there. Tektonik, obviously, it's referring to like robotics and things like that. The bottle cap on this one's quite cool as well. I think I'm definitely going to keep that. It reminds me of one of these kind of Japanese clay characters. I forget what its name is. The one that's a sort of brown square and it just has the kind of mad face on it. But yeah, as I mentioned to you, this one's a 6.1% IPA. The malt base in this one is Paleo, Munich, Caramel 20 and Carapils. And the hops are Magnum, Azaka, Mosaic and Simcoe. So it should be a really nice beer, this. So I guess without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Just try and take the bottle cap off on this nicely, and there we are. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out and into the glass. And I tell you something, you can smell right away. You smell tangerines and oranges. The Azaka hop, of course, is quite an interesting one. Founders recently released a beer called, I think it was called was it just Azaka? It might have just been called just I think sort of single hop beer. if I remember correctly, and that hop, it seems to be one that's gaining in popularity. It's got some really nice sort of pineapple-y and tangerine notes to it, and you can definitely get that vibe of this beer as you pour it out. And Mosaic, of course, has grown in popularity massively over the last few years. But as you can see, look at that beer. It's poured a really nice sort of bright goldeny orange yellow. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head. The head is one finger. I'd say it's a perfect white head. Maybe it's kind of the bubbles in this one, there are some bigger bubbles, but mainly it's quite foamy. Quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there as well, but overall it looks really nice. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see the beer is quite hazy in colour. It looks really nice, and pretty much what you would expect from an IPA in style. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and see how we get on then. Oh yeah, that smells really quite nice. So straight away you're going to notice with this, it's tangerines all the way. It's got that nice kind of light juicy tangerine note to it. For me it's the Azaka that's standing out in this one. Although I would guess the Mosaic is mixing in there as well. It really is these lighter kind of juicy tangerine oranges that are coming out of this beer. You can smell a little bit of passion fruit from the Simcoe as well. And it really does lean more towards the juicy side of things. You can pick up a little bit of floral character, you can pick up a little bit of grassiness. But really the aroma on this one is juicy oranges all the way. Tangerines, mandarins, these kind of things. It's really that juicy orangey tangerine citrus that's coming out of this one. A little bit of floral and grassy character, like I said. The malt base, you can pick up a little bit of that. You can smell that kind of slightly bigger bready aspect that you would get from the Munich malts. You can definitely get a little bit of that in there, and there's a bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness as well. But it smells really, really nice. It just smells like a juicy, bready IPA. But yeah, just as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you actually get stuck into it. But I'm sure this is going to be a good one. I love it when you've got this nice big kind of juicy aroma to your beer. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this one. So this one is the Dizzy IPA Amerikana from Pivovarna Tektonik, based in Ljubljana in Slovenia. Once again, a huge thank you to Davor for sending this beer to Scotland for me. Na zdravje. That's quite an interesting one. On first taste, it does have a little bit more IBU and bitterness to it than some of the other ones I've come across from Slovenia. It's just got that little bit more of a bitter character to it. I'm getting a wee bit of the earthiness from the Mosaic on this as well, and it does, in the aftertaste, you can feel a little bit of that slightly spicy floral character coming out of it too. But yeah, that's nice. I can see why Davor wanted me to try this one. What makes this one a bit more unique compared to the other Slovenian IPAs I've had is the malt base. That you can definitely pick up. If you've got experience with German beer, one of the first things you're going to notice about this beer is the German malt base, the Munich malts in this. It almost has a little bit of that Munich Helles style malt base to it, and I like how that comes across actually. So in the middle of your palate you can feel that nice kind of bready, you can feel the pale malt just underpinning this one, that very light bready character, but on top of that you start to get this thicker kind of white bread thing, and that's the Munich malts coming out in this. Right in the middle of the palate you can pick up a little bit of biscuity sweetness, but mixed in with that bready flavour there is a little bit of kind of graininess coming out of this beer as well. So it's got quite an interesting and kind of complex malt base. A lot of breweries these days are going for either the New England approach with the oats and the wheat malt, or they're kind of just sticking to a straight up pale malt or pale malt and caramel malt base. These guys have done something a little bit different with this and added that kind of bigger bready character to it, and for me it's actually quite nice. I'm a big fan of the Munich Helles, if you've watched the channel before. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting approach to take with this beer. The malt base has a good bit more presence than some of the other IPAs that you're going to come across, but at the same time, in the aftertaste, you can feel a little bit of that kind of spicy floral aromaticity just kind of pushing its way through. It's a really interesting one, this, and it's got a little bit of a dark, spicy floral character that comes out a wee bit later on. So the malt base is one of the more complex that I've come across in recent times when it comes to IPAs. In terms of the hops on this one, in the back corners of the palate, I'm picking up a little bit of a nice kind of earthy note. I think that's the Mosaic and the Magnum really bringing that out, but as you come further forward you can feel it spreading a little bit, and then you start to feel this kind of spicy floral aromaticity in there. It mellows out a little bit as the beer goes on, but there is a little bit of bitterness there lingering on the sides of the palate. As you go round the front curve of the tongue, it gets just a little bit lighter and a little bit grassy. The Azaka hop for me in this one is the one that's kind of coming out a little bit more, but you can pick up a little bit of the Mosaic too. The Simcoe for me seems to be in the background a little bit more. I do wonder if the Magnum hop is used as the bittering hop in this one, because the Magnum can give you some of that sort of spicy floral aromaticity, and I would guess the other ones have been used as the flavour and the aroma hops, just to give the beer that little bit more complexity, and that's how the flavour kind of comes across. You can feel, I think, the characteristics you'd expect to the Magnum just underpinning the beer. So when it comes to the fruity aspects of the beer, as I always say, the fruits come out in just that little oily bubble that you'll find behind the very front curve of your tongue. So there, you can just get a little bit of that kind of juiciness, and I think there's a wee bit of passion fruit just kind of underpinning the beer. You can feel that sort of dark, oily passion fruit flavour just underpinning the fruity aspects of the beer, but as it mellows out you start to get these orangey kind of tangerine notes that you would expect of the Azaka and the Mosaic. There's a wee bit of an almost pineapple-y note to this one. The Azaka does have the tangerines, but then it tends to give you a little bit more of the kind of tropical fruit complexity, and it tends to be sort of pineapples and things like that, and you can get a little bit of that in this beer. But it is nicely done, this one. I'd love to try it on tap and see how it comes across, but it's quite unique in terms of the IPA style. Just be aware with this one that it does have a slightly thicker malt base than you would normally expect of a lot of these IPAs that are coming out, and it is quite interesting to do that, or to see things like this, because it seems to me that in Slovenia, the beer drinkers there, they like their beers just to be a little bit more wet and a little bit more juicy, and to have this little bit of malt presence. I remember making the same comments about the likes of the Quantum and the Third Pill from the likes of Pelican, and a few of the other IPAs I've tried as well. There was the Pivovarna Hops Brew as well, had a really nice IPA that just leaned towards the juicy side of things. This one has quite a similar feel to that in my opinion, but just with a little bit more malt presence. But overall, it's another nice beer, and as I always say, it's cool to see how other countries do things, and to see what beer drinkers there like. But yeah, thumbs up to Pivovarna Tektonik on this one. They've done something that's quite unique, but it works out really quite well for them, I would say. But yeah, that's a nice beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. I'd love to try it on tap and just see how it comes out. This one for me, since it has the slightly thicker malt base, it would be interesting to see how this one would be if you conditioned it as a cask ale with these old English and Scottish pull cask things. I think that would really suit this beer quite well. In the aftertaste, there's a little bit of that earthy character and the slightly spicy floral note just kind of lingering there. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say this beer's mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth. It does have a little bit of a prickle, and that helps bring out some of the sort of floral aromaticity from the beer. The mouthfeel is more oily than anything else. It does have quite a big oily mouthfeel to it, this one. There's a little bit of hoppy bitterness. The malt base, as I said, has a little bit of sweetness to it. There's a little bit of grainy character there as well, but overall it's quite, pardon me, it's quite smooth, and there's a lot of nice kind of juicy, fruity character to this one as well. But as you go further on into the flavour of the beer, there's a little bit of that bitterness just coming out. But overall, it's a really nice beer, and I would recommend this one to you if you find yourself in Slovenia. Make sure you try some of the beers. I would love to try one of their darker beers as well, and just see how they do things at the other end of the spectrum, because the IPA is certainly pretty damn good. So yeah, I think that sums this beer up nicely. It's a nice kind of juicy IPA, but with a little bit more malt presence than you'd normally expect, and it's always interesting as a beer reviewer to try things that are just kind of slightly different. So a big thumbs up to Pivovarna Tektonik on this one, and I do hope they experiment with this style a little bit more. So yeah, once again, thank you to Davor for sending me this beer. Some of the beers he sent me have been pretty damn awesome actually, so it is really cool to get an idea of what the Slovenian beer scene is like, and hopefully I can go down there to one of the beer festivals and review some of the other things for you. So maybe that's something for the future. But thank you once again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below, and let me know what other Slovenian beers and breweries I should be checking out. But this one has been Pivovarna Tektonik, the Dizzy IPA Amerikana from Ljubljana, the capital city of Slovenia. Make sure you try this one, particularly if you like the Munich Helles. I think if you enjoy a good Munich Helles, this one can be a good gateway to some of the new world craft beers for you. So until the next time, na zdravje, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers.